Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our last panel session of the National Conference on Recent Archaeological Investigations in South Asia. It's my privilege and honor to welcome Dr. Rajesh Purohit, sir. Dr. Rajesh Purohit, sir, is a renowned archaeologist and a well-known expert in the field of museum and heritage studies. He has earlier served as director in Allahabad Museum and Indian Museum, Kolkata. He has contributed significantly in setting up several museums in Haryana. Dr. Purohit, sir, has been awarded several national and international awards for his contribution in setting up different museums across India, and also his contribution in the field of museum studies and heritage studies. He has also curated numerous exhibitions and has published research papers widely in reputed national and international journals. I welcome you, sir, to the session, and I now request Rajesh Purohit, sir, to chair this session and to moderate this session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being invited to the forum. And at the very outset, I must congratulate the Archaeological Exploration and Excavation Department, Heritage Society, Patna, and IQAC and Department of History, Archaeology, Maharaja Lakshmishwar Singh Memorial College, and the University of Darbhanga. And these kind of endeavors, especially by colleges and universities, are always welcoming, and we always look forward to have such events and program, especially during this pandemic. We should utilize more of our time in giving opportunity to the young scholars, researchers who are undertaking exploration excavations and doing a lot of publication as well. And I'm truly delighted for being invited to this forum to chair these sessions. I have been watching many of the programs and lectures organized by Dr. Ashutosh Dwivedi for the last several days, several months, and it's quite inspiring. And he is such a young scholar, has taken up this mission for the promotion and heritage and for the dissemination of knowledge, especially bringing all those wonderful people to the forum, to one platform where we can assemble and discuss, deliberate on whatever we have exercised or undertaken in our research and field experiences. And this is an occasion to share our ideas, and also look forward to have more such programs and events by other societies and other institutions as well. I know many of the organizations across our country, even globally, people are doing such kind of endeavor. And this is one of those platforms where we always get an opportunity to interact with our scholars and researchers, and especially focused on the new research scholars and how they are pursuing their career and pursuing their exploration and excavation in many of the areas. And it is quite happy and encouraging for the new generation as well, because I find the new scholars are doing a wonderful job. And I mean, when we see our times and see the recent works done by young scholars, there has been a paradigm shift, maybe because of the facilities that is available and the accessibility, like the internet and other things are available. And I always would like to see the young scholars touch all those milestones and discover more and more things and the way they are doing is not only exciting, but not only encouraging, but they deserve a hats off and lots of applause from our fraternity and scholars in the field of art, archaeology, and such kind of fields. So without taking much of our time, and we should concentrate on the presentations. So before all of you, all the four presenters, they start their presentations, I would request that they should be time bound, because by 4 o'clock we'll have to wind up, because the valedictory session will proceed thereafter. So obviously we'll have to be time constrained, and four presenters are there, and we have got almost 1 hour time. So take 15 to 20 minutes each. Limit your presentation within that, and the key points, the bullet points which you have, the crunch of the presentation, instead of reading the entire paper, all of us would prefer that what exactly you have done and how significantly you have contributed a new thing, new discoveries or new interpretations that all of us would like to have. And once again, I am grateful to the organizers, and the viewers who are watching. I'm also equally grateful. They're taking, sparing their valuable times during the pandemics, and joining us for this archaeological, the recent archaeological and discoveries of South Asia, and how South Asia is considered to be a space with so many diversities and so many cultural assets that we have, and how we can interact across the South Asian countries, so that we can understand the one of the biggest continents, one of the largest continents that we have, and how this continent, the states, the countries are connected with each other. We can understand, and through our researches which we are undertaking. And with this word, I would ask the first presenter, Mrs. Shalini from Jawaharlal University, a very world famous university, and we look forward to listen to you, Shalini. Wish you good luck, and just confine to your time, and now the show is open, and let's start rolling the ball with Shalini.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, all of you. I am Shivani, a research scholar from Center for Historical Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. I am here to present the research paper on the cultural landscape of Nālandā. I would like to thank the organizers of the conference, who has taken pain to organize this conference in the ongoing pandemic situation worldwide. Time. Of my paper is cultural landscape of Nālandā, looking beyond the defined boundaries. I'll share just
Some audio problem. Please see the audio is rectified. It is audible now. Shivani, you can start.
yeah. Is the screen viewable?
Yes, it is viewable and audible.
All right. Thank you, sir. So the title of my presentation is Cultural Landscape of Nālandā, looking beyond the defined boundaries. I have outlined the presentation with introduction. I'll start. Nālandā is a UNESCO World Heritage Site comprising the archaeological remains of monastic and educational institution dating from 3rd century BC to 13th century CE. Its sacred landscape includes many architectural pieces such as stupas, shrines, viharas, and important artworks in stucco, stone, and metal. For various reasons, Nālandā has been a topic of scholarly fascination for many years, whether because of its almost unprecedented achievements in monastic and scholarly accomplishments, institution building, architectural grandeur, Buddhist art and sculptures, reliquaries, or its chance of survival. The archaeological ruins of Nālandā Mahavihara and its nearby region generated great interest in the scholarly world. A large corpus of writing on the varied aspect of Nālandā region is available to us, both as colonial narrative and in the post-independence period. Various scholars have worked on this region. In the recent years, the researchers by KP Jaiswal Research Institute, Patna, contributed significantly in our understanding of Nālandā by locating the various archaeological sites in the Nālandā region. There are also significant findings from the region by various research scholars from different academic institutions worldwide, which exhibits the rich cultural heritage of the region. Apart from Nālandā, there are other archaeological sites and villages situated in its nearby area, whose identification is still a matter of conjecture among the archaeologists and the historians alike. Based on literary sources as well as travelers' accounts, some scholars have done extensive explorations and excavations in this region. They have tried to identify the villages that are mentioned in various seals and ceilings discovered from the excavation of Nālandā. They also tried to find out the evidences of settlements that were contemporary with the Mahavihara. Though the region is vast and culturally rich, all the discovered archaeological sites and findings related to early historical association of the region could not be put into a single frame of writing. For this presentation, I have grouped the landscape of Nālandā into 3 categories, where the coexistence of various sects have been evidenced by a number of archaeological findings and which reflects the poly-religious nature of the region. The 3 categories which I have defined. In the first category, I have tried to locate few evidences from the excavated site of Nālandā Mahavihara, where the depictions on the structure and sculptures reveal the simultaneous presence of Buddhist and Brahmanical faith. In the second category, I have looked at the villages and structures in the immediate vicinity of Nālandā Mahavihara. And in the third group, I have tried to place other sites which have been excavated recently and the findings related to those sites. The objective of the paper is to analyze the spatial and temporal parameters within which the heritage zone of Nālandā has been defined, and how an extension beyond the currently excavated boundaries to embrace broader aspects of geographical and sacred landscape would extend the implication of Nālandā beyond its scope as a Buddhist Mahavihara. By locating the above-mentioned category of sites in the cultural landscape of Nālandā, I'll try to look at if the core identity of the site, which is associated with Buddhism, is still relevant, or we can perceive the region in broader cultural context, where the sacred space is being shared by various cults. For this study, I have used the authentic published data by various scholars over the period of time. This is the map of Bihar showing the location of Nālandā district and other historical cities, and excavated of Nālandā Mahavihara. So let me first, the theme of the paper is cultural landscape. So what is the landscape has been defined as the material manifestation of the relation between humans and their natural environment, and a cultural landscape as defined by World Heritage Committee is the cultural properties represent the combined works of nature and of man. It is a landscape designed and created intentionally by humans. The general trend of landscape archaeologists has been to shift the focus from core monumental sites to the larger archaeological landscapes. For Nālandā, This means the area beyond the boundaries of currently defined limits of Nālandā Mahavihara by the Archaeological Survey of India. Aerial and satellite images in recent years have redefined the boundaries of Nālandā beyond the existing excavated area. My study will take into account the sites, structures, and sculptures to highlight a larger religious complex where sacred space was shared by Buddhists, Jains, and Hindus, where mythologies and rituals came to be closely interwoven, and a monotheistic affiliation of the site becomes difficult to imagine. So I have tried to contextualize the site of Nālandā in its multi-religious context. Frederick Esser, a renowned scholar, said it was possible that Nālandā stretched far beyond the currently excavated limits of complex. There are various water bodies, tanks, and pokharas that surround the campus, providing an alternative perimeter that also provided a rich farming belt, may have been a part of Mahavihara, providing sustenance to those in the monasteries. Esser suggested that the surrounding villages, Badagaon, Surajpur, and Begumpur, may have been part of the complex as well, given the large number of antiquities still to be found there. Hundreds of sculptures in stone, bronze, and stucco are retrieved from Nālandā and its surrounding areas. These include images of Buddha in different postures as well as those of other Buddhist deities such as Marichi, Maitreya, Jambala, and all. Sculptures of Hindu deities such as Shiv Parvati, Mahishasur-Mardini were also found. Besides these, copper plates, terracotta artifacts, pottery, coins, seals, and inscriptions were also excavated, many of which are on display in the archaeological museums near the site. So, like in the first category, I'll try to look at the at temple site number 3 and temple site number 2 or the excavated Mahavihara site. First, I'll look at the temple site number 3. It has there is the depiction of the Pankar Jataka at temple site number 3. And the period is of 7th century. The temple site number 3 of Mahavihara was the nucleus and most sacred monument to be found at Nālandā, and it attracted a large number of non-monastic pilgrims. The depiction of the Pankar Jataka in stucco image by the 5th integument of the temple site 3 of Nālandā can be observed as a significant testimony of Buddhist and Brahmanical interaction at the sacred space. It seems through the portrayal of the Pankar Jataka in stucco imagery on the outer wall of temple site 3 that it was a public declaration that Brahmins being the Buddhist devotees for a long time. A stone sculpture of Nagaraj belonging to 8th century CE was donated by Mahayana Upasaka Bhatta Manikya. This Nagaraj was most likely the tutelary deity of temple site 3, at least during the time of its donation. It reveals that the title Bhatta was sometimes used by Brahmins. Manikya was his background. The religious authorities thus embraced techniques for the installation of the tutelary deity of the site by a Mahayana Upasaka from a Brahmin background, without using confrontational imagery from Aparajita, Trailokya Vijaya, Samvara, or Heruka of later period, which indicates the dominance of Buddhism in the region. Due to disturbing, and then I'll look at the temple site 2. Due to the disturbing nature of temple site 2, the pattern of cult involvement between Buddhism and Brahmanism is hard to track as compared with the one at temple site 3. However, the data recorded from this site could be analyzed to contextualize the evolutionary pattern of cultic interaction. The temple site 2 is situated at the back of monastery 7 and 8. This site may not have been entirely secure from breakthroughs outside the monastic walls in Nālandā Mahavihara, despite its close proximity to some of the monasteries. Nonetheless, several scholars highlighted fundamental differences between site 2 and the rest of the Mahavihara. While all Mahavihara monuments had been made of brick, at least in the early stages of temple was constructed of stone. As far as fundamental architecture is concerned, this temple looks very similar to other Brahmanical Shikara type temples of contemporary North India. However, the absence of an in situ image in the Garbhagriha makes it difficult to ascertain its cultic connotation in this phase. The depiction of Brahman deities on the outer wall of plinth of Nālandā of temple site 2 can be understood as a Buddhist effort to subordinate Brahmanism to Buddhism without using any confrontationist imagery. This site number 2 of Nālandā would be considered as subordinate incorporation of Shiva and other Brahmanic deities into Buddhism. It may also be noted that from Nālandā there was a miniature replica of the Mahabodhi temple adorned with hundreds of lingas on its exterior and Uma Maheshwara on its necks. As the superstructure of Nālandā temple site 12, which is now vanished, it has been claimed to be probably similar to that the Mahabodhi temple in Bodh Gaya. This does not mean that the original temple had obviously hundreds of lingas on the outer wall and that it had the Uma Maheshwara component in its name. And now, I'll look at the evidences from the immediate neighborhood of Mahavihara. In this section, I'll try to study the shrines and sacred iconography surviving from villages of Begumpur, Surajpur, Baragaon, Jagdishpur, and Kundalipur in the vicinity of the present archaeological site of Mahavihara. The extensive remains of sculptures of Hindu deities and shrines from these villages indicate a simultaneous coexistence of Shaiva, Vaishnava, and Surya sects in the region along with Buddhism. First, I'll look at the tanks. There are multiple tanks in the region, and the tanks are significant to study of larger cultural landscape of Nālandā, as its location shows the extent of the site and archaeological remains, and gives an idea of general layout of the site. The many pokharas in the vicinity of Nālandā were noticed and explicitly mentioned by Chinese travelers and British explorers. Both Buchanan and Broadley mention approaching the site from environs or Digi Pokhar. Cunningham also emphasizes on the conspicuous presence of the noble tanks which surround the ruins on all sides. To the south of the monastic complex, he noticed a small tank which was called Kargidya Pokhar, which he visited when he visited the sites. Cunningham presumes that this was the Nālandā tank mentioned in Chinese account, a tank in which the dragon Naga Nālandā was said to dwell, and the place was named after him, Nālandā. The Suraj Pokhar is situated to the northwest of the excavated area and is marked by two large settlements, Surajpur and Baragaon. There are two principal sacred landmarks around the Suraj Pokhar: the tank itself, which is integrated into many Oda legends, and the Surya Mandir in the heart of the village. The Suraj Pokhar is surrounded by ghats on three sides. Several modern shrines with a rich collection of ancient sculptures and architectural fragments dot the banks. Clearly images from elsewhere have been instated in these temples. The images from Baragaon are mostly Hindu, typically the black basalt images popular in East India, and the images are usually large in size, some over 4 feet high. An almost life-size inscribed Vishnu image was also found, which has been placed in a tree shrine. Local legends mention that most of the images and architectural fragments enshrined in the temples had been found in the Pokhara, where they had been hidden during the Islamic raids. Once the images were recovered and reconsecrated in the new shrines, sometimes with brand new identities. In this process of relocation, often the images once recovered from places under tree for preservation and temporary worship, later shrines were often built at the same spot under the tree. This is the Uma Maheshwara sculpture image from Baragaon, Nālandā, and this is the image of from Suraj Mandir. Legends of Rukmini once again reverberate the tank to provide credibility and history of this sacred landscape. There is the living legend about Rukmini. And located in the center of the village, the modern temple of sun god contains a collection of old sculptures, Buddhist and Hindu, obviously taken from the ruins. The temple faces the north, unlike other Surya temples. The principal image is of Surya placed on the platform in the middle of the shrine and protected with iron grills. On the left of Surya image is an Avalokiteshvara figure worshipped as Chhat Mata. Below is the image of a female on a lion worshipped as Singha Vahini, which is another name for Durga. Fixed on the wall behind the Vishnu, Satyanarayan and Bhole Shankar, the last being a Buddha image in a Mundi. There is another site of in Jagdishpur, the Rukmini Sthan is another living instance of how myths have been reinvented, where not only has the identity of image been changed, but a whole new mythological structure has been created around the shrine and enshrined image. This is a protected monument of ASI. The shrine is associated with the Vaishnava legend. The Buddha is worshipped as Krishna and accompanying bodhisattvas as images of Rukmini. According to one local legend, the monastic complex located about 2 kilometers away was the Raja's palace where Rukmini lived. And the legend goes on. And there is one image of Telia Baba. Like another interesting site of assimilation is the shrine of Telia Baba at Baragaon, located in between Temple 14 and Monastery 11. Is a small brick enclosure, which though situated within the excavated site, does not belong to it at present. Inside is a colossal image of seated Buddha in Dharma Chakra Pravartan Mudra. About 9 feet high, worshipped by the villagers as the Hindu god Bhairava or as Telia Baba, and by Thai pilgrims as Black Buddha. The Hindus believe the image to have unique healing power, and they besmear it with oil as an act of worship. Other Buddhist images are also seen in the enclosure. It is not clear whether it marks the site of a temple which had disappeared long ago or was removed from one of the Buddhist temples nearby. This image must have been prominently situated and frequently attended to as an object of worship for all the early explorers encountered. And this is the image of Telia Baba or Buddha. Similar interchangeable identities are fairly common with several other images at Nālandā. For example, votive stupas in the villages are commonly worshipped as Shivlingas. Similarly, a stone image of Marichi, the Buddhist goddess of dawn, close to Temple 14, is worshipped by the villagers as a Hindu deity. The area is also closely associated with Jain legends. The site of Kundalipur, located about 1.5 kilometers away from the excavated area, is believed to be the birthplace of Vardhaman Mahavir. During his wanderings, he spent a rainy month taking shelter near Nālandā. The spot, now marked by a modern shrine, is an important tourist destination, and an annual fair is still organized there. Judging from the rich archaeological remains in the villages in the vicinity of the excavated area, when one can imagine the enormity of the site and the vast amounts of sculptures and antiquities which have been displayed. Now, like by analyzing the data, we can see that looking at the nature of the remains in the villages around Nālandā, two issues become evident. First is it relevant to understand Nālandā merely within the boundaries of the excavated area as a Buddhist university detached from the villages in its vicinity? The entire locality forms an architectural complex of sacred structures of Buddhist, Hindu, and Jain religions, where structures and icons of one religion were readily appropriated and worshipped by another, and where sacred space and areas of human inhabitation merged into each other. And second is how the living heritage more meaningfully understanding how could we suggest how the monastic complex lived in popular memory after its supposed decline. Remains from the neighboring villages predate the Mahavihara and continued to exist long after the monastery had collapsed. These villages are now dotted with several mounds which represent the remains of ancient structure. So it is important to locate the shrines and other sacred enclosures within a social context to unravel the multiple levels at which sacred sites interacted with diverse communities. For instance, the Rukmini Sthan or the shrine of Telia Baba are not frequented merely by Buddhists but by various communities of believers. When placed within a network of pilgrimage circuits between Gaya and Rajgir, traveled not just by Buddhists but also by Jain and Hindu pilgrims. The much popularized Buddhist character of the site seems only a part of the picture. We thus need to look for various approaches to reconstruct the past of a religious shrine or monument, which was basically the finding of the colonial powers, and the history of these monuments were written based on their findings. Hence, the identity of the monument was provided by them. We need to deconstruct these colonial identities by looking beyond the sacred space of the monument and finding broader base through the study of larger landscape where we could see the interactions at multiple levels: social, cultural, economic, as well as religious. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivanee ji. Now the next present.
Thank you, sir.
Should we go for the? Should we invite the questions right now? Are you ready for the questions, Shivanee? Am I audible?
Sir, questions are supposed to be asked at the end of after all the presenters are done with their presentation.
Okay, fine, fine. Thank you. It's a wonderful presentation. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Now the next presentation is by may I invite Mr. Suhas Chand Kapur, Raniganj Girls College, Raniganj, West Bengal. Suhas Chand Kapur, are you ready?
Yes, sir, obviously.
Welcome.
Okay,
And,
okay, Rajesh.
Yes, yes.
Okay, complete
I'm glad you are ready and you can start your presentation. And you know the time limitations because we'll be going for the valedictory session at 4 o'clock. So we'll have to wind up another 3 presentations, including your presentation. 3 presentations are there. So you can start the presentation. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, Rajesh Purohit sir, for introducing me, and the organizer who just give the chance to just deliver my lecture in front of the audience or that online audience. Now I am going to present my lecture on that title, Trace the Linkage of Buddhism between the ancient Southeastern Bengal and Southeast Asian and Overview. Next slide, please. Next, geographical delineation. The first we have to just look down that kind of geographical delineations or the geographical area. The present location of Southeastern Bengal is in Bangladesh, situating in the river of Meghna, whereas the Southeast Asia defines as the Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, Burma, etc. In the early time, in the aforesaid geographical region known as Samatata and Harikala Mandala, which region? That Southeastern Bengal region. And the Samatata denotes that region of Komila Noakhali plains, the adjacent area of Tripura, and Harikala just defines that region of the Chittagong and the adjacent neighboring areas. So we can find out innumerable archaeological and literary sources that puts that kind of ideas about that about that Samatata and Harikala Mandala. And most important thing is that onwards 7th century to 13th century, there was an immense development of Buddhism and practice with the patronage by the several rulers in the Mainamati and Lalmai region in the 6th to 7th century onwards. Next slide, please. If we go to that geographical, next slide. Azad sir, next slide, please. If we're going to the geographical locations, then we can find out that Samatata, look at the right side of the map, then we can find out that Samatata and Harikela both are in the part of now in Bangladesh. The Buddhism was immense developed in that region, and Buddhism is just making contact with, next slide, with the Southeast Asia. Next slide, please. Southeast Asia with that kind of water route or sea route. The projections of my research will be divided into three categories. The first one, we have to look down that kind of sculptural and architectural development of Buddhism in ancient southeastern Bengal, how the sculptural and architectural development took place during that time. Next, we have to look down that modes of the communications between the ancient southeastern Bengal and with the Southeast Asia, how and why. And the third one, very important thing, is that we have to just locate the interrelationship between that artistic development between the two different regions. Next slide. If we going to the segment of the regional development, we can find out that after the development of Gupta Empire, then there was a tectonic changes in the political landscape of India, and in the place of the Bengal, we can find it out that the Pala just got their power in the North Bengal, and we can find out some kind of semi-independent or independent rulers, likewise the Kharga, Deva, the Chandra in the southwestern part. The southwestern part, which I'm going to emphasize, they were just emerged as the semi-independent or independent ruler, those who want to control that kind of region and develop that kind of artistic influence. Most important thing, we have to look at down the Jewari style of architecture, the artistic influence, and second one, architectural design, that the crucified form of monastery, we can find it out. And the next slide, we just came to know that how the Jewari style of artistic influence and how the crucified pattern of architectural design moved from the southeastern Bengal to the Southeast Asia. Next slide. If we the previous one, please. Previous one, sir. If we go into that the first one, that route means that southeastern Bengal, how did the southeastern Bengal came into contact with Southeast Asia, then we can find it out the two important things, the land route and the river route. There was an immense research work had been done by the Amitabha Bhattacharya, A.M. Chaudhary, Harun Rashid, and recently, if we're going to that kind of works, Suchandra Ghosh or that Sariful Islam, we can find it out that there was a kind of land and the river route in between the Southeast Asia and the southeastern Bengal. If we going to that kind of works of Adhir Chakraborty, then we can find it out that the overland route or communications took place in between that southeastern Bengal and Southeast Asia. Then the two important things is the route he was emphasized. The first one, the Harikela Arakan route, very important thing, and the second one, Tripura Manipur Pagan route, where by this route, Adhir Chakraborty tried to emphasize that the southeastern Bengal came into contact with Southeast Asia in that land ways. And if we're going to that maritime activity or that riverine activity, then we can find it out there was an immense rising of the ports like the Deva Parvata, you can find it out, the Chattagrama, you can find it out. Then we can find it out some kind of no bandhakas or no dandakas. These are the words incorporated in that in the inscriptions. Inscriptions. So we can find it out that apart from that land route communications, we can find it out that the river route communication also took place in the southeastern Bengal with the Southeast Asia. And most important thing, we can emphasize on that works of the travelogue account of this Zwanzak or Itzing. Then we can find it out in the account of this Zwanzak. He just mentions that 6 countries in the South Asian territories. And if we going to the Itzing words, we can find it out the Itzing came to India. The first one, China to Java, Java to Malay, Malay to Harikela. Harikela means the southeastern Bengal. Very important thing. if we going to the map, then we can find it out that how did that southeastern Bengal make into contact with the Southeast Asians through the riverine route, and also that kind of land route also. Next slide, please. The first and the foremost one, the artistic development, I want to emphasize that kind of Jewari bone sculpture. The Jewari bone sculpture in form of the the Mainamati Lalmite region of Bangladesh. Then in 1927, a hoard of 66 metal figures had been discovered, and the metal figures that pointed out A.M. Chowdhury, means Abdul Momin Chowdhury, pointed out that the figures are in the post-Gupta period, but in the pre-Pala period. So we can find it out that the Buddhism in the southeastern Bengal already developed in a unique form of their architectural or that artistic form in the name of the Jewari Bonch. Next slide. Then we can find it out that there was a kind of interactions between the Myanmar and the southeastern Bengal through that mural painting. That mural painting, the works had been done by the Claudine Pichron, that the Buddhist mural painting of Pagon 2003. He just trying to emphasize that Jataka story in the Myanmar and indicating that the close religious interactions between the Myanmar and the southeastern Bengal in the using of colors as well as the stylistic representations of the stone sculpture. We can find it of the two figures. The first one in the left side, the Buddhist colophon of the 11th century, Hari Varman Deva. Hari Varman Deva was the latter Deva rulers in the southeastern Bengal, and he just in his times that Buddhist colophon had been written down. And then in the right hand side, you can find it out the Ananda temple in the Myanmar. The Lord Buddha was represented in the mural form. So we can apparently find it out the similarities in between the two pictures. Next slide. Apart from that kind of similarities in the color and the stylistic form, if we emphasized on that other Buddhist figures, likewise the Tara, Maha, Pratishara or the Manjusri, we can find it that there was a important linkage in between that those figures with that kind of either the Thailand, either that kind of Indonesia or Java. Then we can chain up that things that there was an immense interactions between that southeastern Bengal and the Southeast Asias. And most important thing is that if we look at the works of the Divine Bronze written by the Pauline Scrullier, then he just wanted to emphasize that the Indo-Javanese bronze art did not originated from the Nālandā or the eastern part of Bengal, but originated and inspired by the Komilla and Chittagong district in the Bangladesh. So in her work, he tried to emphasize that there was a linkage between the southeastern Bengal and Southeast Asia in that kind of figures, likewise the Tara, Manjusri or Avalokitesvara, etc. So the first projections in that slide, that Avalokitesvara image, the first image you can find it out the 19th century coming from that Ananda Vihara excavations at Mainamati Komilla region, and that kind of style you can make the similarities with the Avalokitesvara at the Yala in the peninsula Thailand around the 10th century. And if we're going to the downward, then we can find out that the same style or the iconic figure of the Avalokitesvara in the central Java in the 9th or 10th century. By this way, we can just make it that there was a shifting of the architectural form from the Komilla or Mainamati region or Mainamati or Lalmai region to that Southwest Asia, either the monks, either the traders, or that kind of purpose, maybe the trading or the religion. Next one. There was an image of the Tara just unbaked clay depicting in the Tara or the Chunda in the Salvan Vihara at the Mainamati region. And the Tara, we can find it out that Indian Museum, that sandstone sculpture, 9th or 10th century. There was a kind of relationship. Also, there was a several kind of pictures that due to the paucity of the time, we are not able to, or I am not able to just give that kind of pictures properly. Next slide. If we going to that Mahapratisara image, we can find it out the same kind of similarities in between the Mahapratisthara metal image in the Komilla, Bangladesh, around the 8th-9th century, and Mahapratisthara image, a bronze image at the Central Java in the 9th and 10th century. So due to that kind of similarities, like by the Mahapratisthara or the Avalokiteshvara or the Tara, we can find it out there was a shifting of the culture. That culture main depends on that artistic development through that depictions of the Buddhist figure, likewise the Mahapratisthara, Tara, etc. Next one. If we're going to the next one, then we can find it out, apart from the artistic development, we can find out that architectural development. That architectural development just done in a form of the crucified pattern. That most interesting pattern, that pattern also developed in that whole Eastern India during the time of the early medieval age of India. That cruciform types of architecture, a main shrine was established in the central of the large square or the rectangular type of courtyard, and the numerous cells were systematically arranged on that 4 sides of this square. The monastery was fully enclosed by the walls, and only one entrance gateway at the north wing of the monastery, sometime with the guard rooms at the entrance of the main gate. So in that cruciform pattern, we can find it out, that kind of pattern also established in that, or also just established in that Salvana Vihara, Ananda Vihara, Rupman Mura Vihara. This kind of viharas also part of the cruciform pattern. But if we look at the next one slide, then we can find it out. This picture I have taken from Abdul Momin Chaudhry's article, Bengal and the Southeast Asia. You can find it out that 2 things, that Salvana Vihara, that structure of the cruciform, and the Chandisevu Vihara, that was the much later one. Then we can find it out the same kind of pattern. That pattern had been shifted from the southeastern Bengal to the Southeast Asia in the form of the architectural development in their ground plan of making monasteries. And the last one, if we're going to the conclude the epilogue of sections, then we must have to just think some kind of points. The first one, Bengal was the gateway of the extensive contact between India and the Southwest Asia in a distinct geographical location. The first thing, it is clear. The second one, very important thing, Buddhism played the pivotal role in making of that kind of relationship. That means through the land network or through the riverine network, because Buddhism, due to this mercantile activity, played an important or that pivotal role in that case. And the most important thing, the third one, that mentions by Suchandra Ghosh in his text Exploring Connectivity very clearly, that according to the Kenneth Hall, he just emphasized on the 3 centers of international Buddhism. The first one, Tantric Buddhism in the sphere of the Bihar and Bengal region. The second one, Theravada Buddhism, Sri Lanka. And the third one, Mahayana sects of Buddhism, that was in China. But apart from the Kenneth Hall, Professor Suchandra Ghosh tried to emphasize another added of ancient southeastern Bengal, likewise Samatata and Harikela, one of the prime center of the Mahayana Buddhism for its practice and worldwide circulations. She just much more emphasized on and just focused on that kind of excavations, trying to make the relationships of Southeastern Bengal with the Southeast Asia. And the next one, you have to think that we must consider that the artistic and architectural influence of the ancient Southeastern Bengal over the various parts of Southeast Asia. But we must have to consider that there was some kind of local traditions with other lone factors might be speak of the variations of details. But we have to think that thoughts in our mind that the concept of the cultural convergence or the cross-cultural exchange took place in between Southeastern Bengal and Southeast Asia, and we have to much more emphasize on that kind of terms, cross-cultural exchange, rather than we have to emphasize on the model of the Greater India or the Indianizations of the Southeast Asias in the time of the early medieval or 6th to 7th century to 13th century AD. So I have to project that kind of things, and hope you just enjoy my lectures, and if you have any questions, please, you are allowed to speak to me and later on the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Kapur. You have done a wonderful presentation. Now I would invite the next presentation by Mr. MONDAL from the University of Dhaka.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and good morning. Good afternoon, sir. Am I audible and visible?
You are audible and visible,
okay.
And
so
you can start your presentation.
Yeah, I'll just
and
share my screen.
confine your presentation within the limitation of time, because we'll have to wind up for the valedictory program. But you carry on.
Sure. I'll try my best.
Yes. You are always welcome, and I'm glad that all the way from Dhaka you have come here, or you are already here in India and studying.
Sir, I was in India for studying. I studied in Nālandā University.
Yes, I'm so glad to see you here, and we look forward to have several meetings here in India in different conferences. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is my PPT is visible in full screen?
No.
Okay. Just. Can you see it now, sir?
No. It's gradually coming. Just wait for a moment. Yes. It's absolutely ready.
Okay. Just give me a second. Is it there?
No.
It should come, I suppose.
You can carry on meanwhile.
Just let me check another time. Is it here, sir?
Yes, it is coming. Yes.
Okay.
It's ready.
Okay, maybe it's just I don't know, maybe the okay. So okay. So good afternoon, everyone, once again, and sorry for these technical glitches. Here I am. We are present. Me and we have another friend of mine, Sudabrata Chakraborty, and he's not here, but he has joined with us. So we are actually presenting here an ancient migrant route, and we have traced it back with the help of one depiction of a single figure of a rhino from the cave paintings of Bhimbetka. So just let me first go to the location first. So it is the cave of Bhimbetka, which is a world famous rock shelter. It's and also a UNESCO heritage. It is in the Raniganj district of Madhya Pradesh. And if it is the map of India, so the Madhya, and the star mark here is the site location of Bhimbetka. So in Bhimbetka cave, we actually get 750 rock shelters, and among those 750 rock shelters, 113 rock shelters contain rock art. And mostly, if we go by the occupation of the Bhimbetka site, then we can see from Aquilian Stone Age up to the Mesolithic, and to some authors have also mentioned that up to Neolithic, the population inhabited in that site. The most of the subjects of the rock art are mostly of hunting and rituals, and the figures that we see are mostly of animals and humans. The pigments that have been used in Bhimbetka to draw the figurines of animals and rituals are mostly red, white, and yellow. These pigments are mainly have gathered from the nearest available sources, and we already know that the inhabitants of any rock art shelters use the local ingredients or the local raw natural ingredients to paint the arts. On the left, we have this the pathways of the Bhimbetka rock shelter that spreads over 10 kilometer, and it's a fascinating display of of rock arts. So what we actually have in Bhimbetka cave is that the cave actually provides a rare glimpse at a sequence of cultural development from early nomadic hunter-gatherer to settled cultivators and to the expression of spirituality. So we have three different things here: cultural development from early nomadic hunter-gatherer to settled cultivators to expressions of spirituality. And we emphasize the expression of spirituality here because in the later cases we will see that it might be one of our clue to solve one mystery that we are actually talking about here. So going to the next slide, we are here in this among these 133 rock art shelters. In one of the panels, we actually get these figures that we have the photo on the left. One of the rock art researcher, Arvind Neumayer, went there and had an ethnographic study. So he talked about this panel is that amongst the animals, there are also two pigs and two horned rhino. Small two-horned rhinos are known to exist till recent Sumatra and might till recent have roamed the rainforest of eastern India. However, prehistoric fossil bones of these animals are not known to have found as in central India. So in the figure we have left, it might be difficult to find this two-horned rhino that Neumayer has expressed here. So let me zoom in the photo for your convenience. So on the left here, you can see the depiction of this two-horned rhino and also the pigs. So this two-horned rhino is the small two-horned rhino that Neumayer is talking about. So this rhino, according to Wakankar and Brooks, they have analyzed the stylistic and expressive pattern of this rock art and have came to the conclusion that these animals are thick outlines with partially filled and decorated bodies, because we can see that the body is with the thick outlines, but on the snout and the ears are partially filled. And mostly the artists or the inhabitant of those of the shelters usually they used to chase rhinoceros, bisons, elephants, and antelopes. And of course, this is the characteristics of rock art, and also the because when you are hunting an animal, you have these representations on your wall. So going by these stylistic factors, Wakankar and Brooks have concluded that this figure actually belongs to Mesolithic period of India, which they are roughly taking the range between 8000 BC to 2500 BC. But this is actually important to know. This fact is that where these rhinos actually roamed, because if we go by what Newman has said earlier, is that 200 rhinos were supposed to have the distribution on the Eastern Asian sites. So distribution, if we go by this map, distribution of Indian rhino is mostly in this pinkish area, which is the Himalayan foothills and central Indian grasslands. And on the other hand, distribution of Sumatran rhinos are mostly seen on the East Asian sides, especially in Philippines, Thailand, Myanmar, Laos, and Borneo and all. So this actually creates a riddle, and that's how we named our presentation, the riddle of the rhino. So how come the representation of rhino actually came to Bhimbetka? So to answer this riddle, we are going by three connection. First of all is linguistic connection. So Sidwell and Schlesinger have the recent discoveries and researches, and have concluded that migration from Southeast Asia to Odisha or to the Indian subcontinent happened in between the Mesolithic period, and they have roughly have sketched the figure to 4,000 to 3,500. So this is actually interesting, and all because we have these Asiatic speaking people, Austroasiatic speaking people in Bangladesh also, and also in India. Also, if we go by the typology and technology of the tools that we can see that the resemblance of the tool industry that is found mostly in this part of the world. So I am speaking in the northeast of India, Bangladesh. These are mostly resembles with the Southeast Asia. So we can see here the Movius line, and the Movius line is a methodology that we use to identify the tool technology of any site. Here, for example, I can cite Chaklapunji of Sylhet, that's in Bangladesh. Is that the fossil wood industry that we can observe there, and the type of technology that is analyzed there is mostly of the southeastern regions. And another interesting fact to note here is that what Chakraborty has observed, that the evidence of these type of industry is found up to Birbhum, Bardhaman, and Chota Nagpur plateau. So but after that, we don't find any such type of technological issues. So there might have but we can see other Acheulean regions and have robust use of the Acheulean tool. So there might have amalgamation of these two type of technologies, but we are not going into that detail. And another connection is the cultural connection, because the rhinos were really local to the Southeast Asia and India. But here we are especially focusing on 200 rhinos, and thus we are actually talking about the rhinos in tribal culture in the Southeast Asia, especially in Sumatra, Malay, Borneo, Burma, and we'll come later on to India and Bangladesh. First of all, here Strain has done an excellent ethnography on the connection between this tribal culture and rhino. Several folktales of Sumatran rhinos were collected during this 1920s colonial naturalists and hunters, and they have found that in Burma the belief was once widespread that the Sumatran rhino ate fire, and they used to follow the smoke to reach the fire camps and then attack. In Malay, it is said that the rhino's horn was hollowed and could be used as a sort of hose for breathing air and squirting water. In Malay and Sumatra, it was once believed that the rhino shed its horn every year and buried it under the ground. So what we can see is this type of tales are actually imbibed to their folklore, to their culture, and to their livelihood system, because you live with these things. Therefore, this is actually very important. And another thing to mention here is that the the rhinos connection with the tribal culture of India and Bangladesh. Because, for example, if we take Santhals for examples, Santhals are Austric speaking proto-Australoids, and they have also the archaeological evidence to show that they have also migrated into this part of the land, and their ancestors migrated from Australia at least from 10,000 years ago. So what we get from our ethnographic data is that the Santhals have 7 gotras, and one of the totem of their gotra is rhino. And we have actually verified it from our key informant that what they actually know is that rhino is of 2 horns rather than being 1 horn. So it is also actually actually very important to note is that from where they came, the distribution of 2-horned rhinos were much more larger. And here is another photo that we have seen that Numer has collected, is that the people are butchering 1-horned rhinos, and they're waiting with vessels and yokes to carry the meat. Of course, this rhino can be butchered and can be consumed, and the fact is that what Numer has also mentioned that this is actually a 1-horned rhino. But the thing is that if we go by the distribution of the rhino and also the connections that we get, the cultural, typo-technological, and the linguistic connection, is that the distribution of 2-horned rhino and the distribution of human have followed the same path. They followed the same path, though these paths may have coincided together. And when these will coincide together and they have the knowledge, of course, these things will inbuilt into your system, into your cultural system. So if these peoples actually roam through Bangladesh and reach Bhimbetka, then if they actually draw the figuring of 2-horned rhino, that will be actually from their ancestral knowledge. So it is really very important, because if you don't see anything, you cannot draw anything. So if there is a depiction of 2-horned rhinos, so the peoples of this part of the land must have traveled up to Bhimbetka and must have drawn these 2-horned rhino from their ancestral knowledge. So this is our proposition, and this is also we haven't finished yet. It's a still ongoing research project, but we are proposing that the tracing the clue of the rhinos in the cultural framework, it can be signified that the proto-Australoids entered through that space route into India, where they frequently encountered Sumatran rhinos, and the paintings of 2-horned rhinos in Bhimbetka may have traveled from the particular population as a part of their ancestral knowledge. And also it advocates the possibility of multiple entry points into India in the course of human history. So here we are not going for a linear migration theory, but rather a mosaic frame of migration theory into India. So that was my presentation so far, and it is the bibliography we have used. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mondal. Thank you for your presentation. Now I would invite the last scholar, Dr. VIDYANATH Jha.
Yes, I am ready.
Yes, welcome, and you can start your presentation.
Should I start?
Yes.
Yes. Dr. Rajesh Purohit ji, former director, Indian Museum, Kolkata. Dr. Anand Ashutosh Dwivedi ji of the Heritage Society. that is organizing this seminar, this webinar, or national conference. National Conference on Recent Archaeological Investigations in South Asia. Professor Madhav Chaudhary, head of the Department of History, MLSM College, that is collaborating with the venture. Dr. Sanjeev Kumar Singh ji of National Museum, Delhi, and other members of academia in the audience. The topic of my presentation is archaeological investigations in relation to kamal, makhana, and other plants of cultural significance in India. A review. I am a man of botany, but as I'm delving into the realm of archaeology, I do not know how far I am doing the justice. But anyway, there are archaeology meets the boundary of paleobotany also, and knowledge as such has no boundary. And today's age is the age of interdisciplinarity. I recollect that when I was a student of MSc Botany under Mithila University during 1975-77, I had an occasion to visit Raj Mahal Hills on the bank of Ganga and collect a number of fossil impressions of plants that got converted into rocks. I hired the hammers from the Department of Botany of SP College Sahibganj. Another student colleague of mine who went there in that college in connection with an inter-university debate competition was Shri Nalini Kant Jha of political science, who later rose to become the Vice Chancellor of Tilkamaji Bhagalpur University and died prematurely while remaining in office. So these are some of the experiences that led to the arousal of interest in archaeology or archaeobotany as such. One of my friends, who is an avian expert, Mr. Arvind Mishra of Bhagalpur, who is running the Mandar Nature Club, had the habit of visiting the construction site of Ganga Bridge near Bhagalpur. He made collections of the tusks of elephants from there and sent them for demarcation of the age, and that led to antedating of the evolution of elephants in India. Very remarkable discovery that he made out of his hobby. So, right now I am making a presentation in connection with kamal and makhana and some other plants, mainly kamal and makhana. So plants like kamal, that is Nelambo nucifera, and makhana, that is Urel ferox, and a number of other plants of cultural significance have been obtained from archaeological sites, fossil reports. These investigations are indicative of their antiquity. More than 1,000 years old seeds of lotus have been made to germinate. This proves it to be a sign of eternity, and as such provides a basis to its identification as the national flower of India. Makhana is intimately related with the Indian culture. There are a number of archaeological reports that are indicative of its possible foreign origin and introduction to India, possibly through bird dispersal. It would be worthwhile to trace the possible origin and distribution of plants of cultural significance in India in light of archaeological evidences available. And next one. आगे वाला. इससे पहले वाला. Back. Yes. Now this slide shows that in 2011, when I was at MLSM College, one Professor Nama Goren Inbar of the Institute of Archaeology, Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Israel, made a visit to Darbhanga in September 2011 to know the details of the cultivation and utilization processes of Gorgon nut as the makhana is called in English. Her visit was in light of the fossils of 2 aquatic nuts, including makhana and singhara, along with 5 other terrestrial nuts, having been discovered from the Herculean site of Jesher Benot Yaqub, that is in Israel, along with hammers and anvils, dating back to the early Middle Pleistocene. So, since she came to know regarding the details of how in the present time makhana is cultivated, its nuts are collected, pops are made, and other processed items are prepared, and makhana is used. Now this slide shows how makhana is a major ingredient of the cultural life of Mithila. It is there along with pan and other ingredients in the changera. And again, the map shows its cultivation in the districts of Bihar, certain districts of Bihar, 8 to 10 districts of Bihar. And on right lower side is the is a big pond in which integrated culture of fish along with makhana is being done by leaving open space. And in the middle is the map of India showing the present distribution of this plant, both as wild as well as cultivated in different parts of the states of India. Now this slide shows sepal trimary in the flower, that is the presence of 3 sepals only in its flower. Now this has got an evolutionary significance in the fact that, next slide, the flowers, next slide, this shows 3 sepals, 1, 2, 3. Next slide, here you can see there are 4 sepals. The previous one is a monocot character, monocotyledonous character, and this is a dicot character, presence of 4 sepals. Presence of 4 sepals is a dicot character. So this is of much evolutionary significance, and we had an opportunity to find or to come across 3 sepal flowers that throw sufficient light on its evolutionary aspect. Now then, this shows a mature fruit of Ural ferox. Both the types of flowers develop into fruits, clistogamous as well as chasmogamous. Fruits dehisce to release related seeds. The edil flattens after floating for a few days on the water surface. It loses its color and thus facilitates the seed to settle to the bottom. And next slide, next slide, next slide. This is the fruit with the spines all over its part. Yes. Next slide, next slide. Now this shows the seeds. Next slide. This shows the seeds. Actually, this part of the plant, the seed is of singular importance, whereas this archaeological finding in Israel and at other places is concerned. Now, Nama Goren published a paper beneath still waters, multi-stage aquatic exploitation of Ural ferox Salisbury during the Herculean. So this is a paper from Israel that has been published in Internet Archaeology and is of much significance. Next one. This is from next slide. Yes, these are the details of the affiliations of the various authors in the paper. Now in that paper there is a mention, the photograph shows how in this area where it is cultivated, harvests are being made with the help of bamboo appliance, and then the seeds are there on the hand of the fishing community that cultivates it, that harvests it. Then in that paper itself, there is a mention of the studies on the evolution of hominin cognitive abilities, that is in relation to the findings of the seeds from the excavation site. Now this next one, actually this slide, actually this next one. Actually this slide shows, yes, this is the slide that I wanted to show. This is from the paper of Namagoren, foxnut. It is also called as foxnut. Ural ferox from Jesher Benot Yaqub. details are there, and show the inner portion. This is the seed, and there is a cavity where embryo remains embedded. Inside there is perisperm, that is the edible part. Now this seed actually is present day. It is roasted, popped, and the outside world knows it as the name in the name of makhana. Now, as far as its evolution is concerned, reports of fossil species from the Pleistocene of Poland as well as from the Oligocene of Scotland corroborate the belief that Udell ferox is a temperate plant introduced into Southeast Asia through bird dispersal. This is the view of late Professor Vishnu Mitre, who was with the Birvasan Institute of Paleobotany. Now he is no more, but I had an occasion to discuss the matter of introduction of this Udell ferox into India. And he was of the view that makhana has been growing in the temperate lakes of Kashmir as an ancient natural crop. It has adapted to the tropical climate of India and is found in natural wild forms in various parts of northwest India, that is Assam, West Bengal, Tripura, Odisha, etc. And the scattered pockets of central and northern India, that is Gorakhpur, Alwar, etc. It is distributed from
Oh, there it is.
So it has adapted to the tropical climate of India and is found in natural wild forms in various parts of eastern India as well as in the temperate lakes of Kashmir up to the northeast Indian lakes of Manipur. Mithila area at the present time is the existence where it is extensively cultivated in Darbhanga, Madhubani, Samastipur, Saharsa, Katihar districts, and also in some areas of Nepal, Bangladesh, Korea, and North America. Further, it has been reported as a native plant in the lakes of Manchuria also. Now, fossil records of this plant have been found in various parts of Asia and Europe. all the world over, Udale exists as a single species as of now. In past geological periods, it grew in Europe, but is completely extinct. There at present. Nikki gave an account of the remains of the family Nymphaceae in Japan. The Udale species obtained were classified as Udale ferox, Udale nodulosa, Udale lissa, Udale europea, etc. Seeds of Udale ferox from the Pleistocene stratum were obtained from localities of different prefectures. Udale europea remains in Japan correspond to the species obtained from the interglacial beds in Europe, while those of Udale lissa were similar to the species described from the Pliocene of Europe. The only report from India is by Dr. H. Falconer, who discovered fossil seeds of Udale ferox belonging to the tertiary from near Calcutta, northeastern India. It has been cited from Hooker and Thompson, 1855. Closely related fossil species discovered in several localities of Udale include Udale emergences from the Pliocene strata of Tegelen clay in Holland that has been mentioned in Encyclopedia Britannica 1911, as well as from the Billstead locality of Germany. Udale lissa from the Pleistocene of Puentes de Garcia. Udale europea from Pleistocene interglacial deposit at Lichvin in Kaluga, and from the Miocene of Konin. Udale carpetica from the Pliocene sediments of Krosienko from the younger tertiary of Poland. Now, fossil remains of Udale ferox were obtained from the interglacial Lichvin sediments of European Pleistocene by Sukhotchev, the Stanovis Pleistocene of Poland by Sobolewska, and the Tonsberg Holsteinian interglacial by Kempf, 1966. Another account of the fossil record from the Oligocene of Scotland was given by Simpson, 1936. Dorofeev, 1963, suggested an evolutionary lineage of Udale ferox with the Oligocene Nikitinella and Tomskiella, Miocene Eo-Udale and Irtisemia, Pliocene Pseudo-Udale, and Pleistocene Paleo-Udale, all separate departures from a succession leading to the extant Udale that is there at present, known as Makhana. Godwin, 1975, studied the fossil and evolutionary history of Udale ferox in temperate Europe and described it as a discontinuous species. Further accounts of the distribution of the past and evolutionary history of Udale ferox have been given in detail by Reed and Reed, Nikki, Nikitin, Rochov, Ushko, Tralau, Dorofeev, Gall et al., Collinson, Giffney and Collinson, etc. So all the accounts that I have presented refer to the distribution, the broad distribution of Udale ferox in the past in Europe. But right now it is not there, and it is understood that after Julian glaciation, the plant became extinct there in Europe, and today it is found in different types of different parts of Asia, including India, Japan, Korea, China. So this is the situation right now. Now I am coming to next. Now I am coming to this Kamal, that is lotus. Next slide. Lotus. This I want to discuss because it is the national flower of India, and just first previous slide, back. Now, yes, today there is a concept of lotus effect because the water droplets, they do not stick to the surface of the lotus leaf, and this has led to the emergence of the idea of lotus effect. This study has been possible on account of the discovery of electron microscope, and a recent German study has highlighted the concept of lotus effect, that is of much use in designing several glass slides, etc., tiles, etc. So this is the finding. Now the next slide. Yes, this refers to, this points out to the seeds of this Kamal, that is Nellambor nitida, that is called as lotus. Now, more than 1,000 years old seeds of bamboo, that is lotus, derived from the excavation sites have been grown. So, as this is why lotus is considered to be a symbol of longevity, symbol of eternity, because thousands of years old. Seeds have been made to germinate during present times. So that is the basis of its considering a symbol of eternity. Since it has been derived from excavation sites, both Ural as well as Nālandā, so I think archaeology should look into the question of the evolutionary history of water plants and other plants also. So that way there lies a boundary between what is called paleoarchaeology. So thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Jha, it was a fantastic presentation. I must congratulate you for this wonderful presentation that you brought in. And at the end of the discussion, we'll be talking about some issues pertaining to the age, and especially the tertiary report that you have spoken about, the only report that is available with us. So we'll be discussing during the question answer session. Thank you. Wonderful presentation.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Now, may I invite the session is open for discussion. The floor is open now for questions. The first presentation was by SHIVANEE. Is she there? SHIVANEE, are you ready for the question answer session?
Yes, sir, yes.
Yes. May I have, if anybody is there to read out the questions asked by the audience?
Thank you, sir. There are a couple of questions from the viewers.
Limit it, and you can combine the questions if they are of similar nature.
Yes, sir. There is a question from Silpa Wadekar to Ms. SHIVANEE. She is asking about, can you tell about Marichi, a Buddhist goddess of Bihar, and the role of Tara in the culture of Southeast Asia?
Sorry, I could not get it.
There is a question from Silpa Wadekar. She wants to know about Marichi, the Buddhist goddess of Bihar.
In relation to Southeast Asia, you asked?
She is asking in the context of Bihar. Is Marichi a goddess of Bihar?
I will have to ask. Yes.
You have to ask the question which is of specific in nature. Okay? What is the specific question? Is that about the god Marichi? The image Marichi in relation to what?
Her question is, can you tell about Marichi, a Buddhist goddess of Bihar?
Marichi, Buddhist goddess of Bihar. What does she want to know?
Possibly she wants to know, is Marichi affiliated to Bihar? Is she a goddess of Bihar?
No, not at all. She's a Buddhist goddess, could be of I mean, they are worshipped in various parts of the globe. Next question.
The next question
Am I
is
right?
from Jawaharlal
Marichi is not
from
having any special affinity with Bihar as such. Marichi is a Buddhist goddess found across the globe. Wherever Buddhist practices are there. Am I right, Shivani?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Next question.
There is a last question from Jaram Mustaq from Vidyanath Jhasar. Is asking, can we call makhana cultivation in temperature lakes specific to indigenous origin?
You can. I mean, Shivani's questions are over.
Yes, sir. There is only one question from Ms. Shivani that has been asked by the viewer.
Let me ask a small question to Shivani, because you will have to wind up here only. Shivani, I wanted to know about the period of the couple of temples and images which you have spoken during your presentation. One is about the Nagaraj image, of what period, and Rukmini and Buddha in the form of Krishna. You have Buddha is worshipped in the form of Krishna, and there is a image of Rukmini as well, and Telia Baba, which is worshipped as Bhairav worshipped as Telia Baba. What are the period of these images which you have come across?
Yes, sir. The image of Telia Baba is of 9th, 10th century, and so like it is of late, in early medieval period or 9th, 10th century.
Okay.
And these
Fine.
structures, these are the later structures that came into Buddhism.
And about the Buddha in the form of Krishna in the form of Buddha, or Buddha in the form of Krishna.
That
You have
is
spoken
also
about the image.
Yes, sir.
9th,
That is
10th
also
century.
that is yes, 9th, 10th or 11th, 12th century. Exact date is not mentioned, but we can put it into the in early medieval period, and maybe the later part of early medieval period, that is 11th, 12th century.
Nice. And my last question is that you have spoken about a Sikhara temple
Yes.
of I mean, a divinity who is worshipped in the Garbhagriha is missing. But do you find any other associated material or peripheral material adjoining to the temple, or embellished with the temple, niches or facade, or any part of the temple where you find some of the signature whereby you can identify that this is a Hindu temple, Brahminical temple?
With the findings of images, only we can associate. But
This is temple site number 2.
yes, sir.
Temple site number 2.
Yeah, at the excavated area, no.
Yes.
Through the depictions and sculptural remains, we it has been associated by various scholars. These are the mainly the findings by scholars, and the conclusions may be drawn upon that one.
But no direct evidence, because Sikhara temple, you don't have a full temple as such. You have only the base of the temple.
Yes, sir.
Or you have a complete temple. You don't have a complete temple, I believe.
No, not complete temple.
Yes. So you can say that there is a shrine which can be attributed to Brahminical religion on the basis of that. But you cannot draw a conclusion that it was absolutely a Brahminical temple as such. Because no other corroborative materials you are getting. I must also ask you to visit 2 important sites where especially in Bihar, you can visit Tilhara, where you find this multi pantheon landscape, or whatever you call it, because Tilhara is the recently excavated site where
Yes.
along where it is almost like Nālandā. It is quite near to Nālandā as well,
Yes.
and it is also a monastic site where you have images, beautiful images of Vishnu and other pantheons, how parallelly the Buddhism flourished with other religions, because you are
Yes.
talking about a landscape of an area where a composite kind of cultural setup is very much prevalent in a particular period of time, be it in Nālandā or in Tilhara or the Mughal Madi site in Bengal. These are the recent findings where you can have a comparative study of similar kinds of landscape, the archaeological landscape that you have, because as you told that it is an interaction between the existing space and in relation to the human practices, human beliefs, human tradition, and all that, and how you find, especially in Bihar, in the context of Buddhism, how it has been amalgamated into the recent cult worships, be it Naga Raj worship or be it Saivite worship. But very often you will find there is always a similarities in the iconographic features of Avalokiteshvara and Lord Shiva. There is a lot of similarities in Avalokiteshvara and the, because Avalokiteshvara has a Jatamukut as much you have similar kinds of Jada Mukata with so there are various images where you can see, and how you also can find all these example in Kaneri caves where you have the influences of Hindu Brahminical cult in the Avalokiteshvara image of the multiple headed Avalokiteshvara, what we call the Vishwarupa Darshan, what you have. Even in Dalai Lama's place, Dharamsala, you have images of the later period where similar kinds of. Thank you. It was a wonderful attempt. You have been doing quite a fantastic job, and wish you all good luck.
Thank you,
Next
sir. Thank
question.
Thank you, sir. There is a question from Sanjeev sir. Sanjeev sir is asking, would you please further elaborate about the Makhana plants in relation to its archaeological finding? Sir is asking question. Sir is putting question to Dr. Vidyanath Sir. The question is from Sanjeev Kumar Singh.
Dr. Jha, is he available? Yes, come. Dr. Jha is ready. You can ask the question.
Sir, there is a question from Sanjeev Kumar Singh, sir, from he's asking, could you please further elaborate about the Makhana plants in relation to archaeological findings?
Dr. Jha, are we audible? I think he is not audible. You can skip this question for a moment, and you can ask the next question to SUHAS KAPUR.
This is the last question, sir. What is the role of Tara in the culture of Southeast Asia? Can you tell about Tara and their colors? Silpa Moderator is asking from Suhas Chandra. Role of Tara in the culture of Southeast Asia.
If we go to that various definition of Tara, then you can find it out that white Tara, Sama Tara. Okay, there was so many classification of Taras in the Southeast Asias. And if we go to that kind of that activities or that kind of blessing of Taras, then we can find it out. Tara actually works as the protective gods of the Buddhism. Okay, in that time of the maritime activity, the monks also carried that Dhoti Tara, or with him, or the traders can move for the commercial activities. You can find it out for the protections of the common man or the traders or that monks. Tara had been used for this purpose, I think.
Any other question?
No, sir. This was the last question, sir.
Okay. My question to, I have got two questions to Subhas Kapur, not question as such. One is that you have talked about Southeast Bengal river route. You have given only the references to various discussions. Physical existence of any river, or the paleo river or paleo channels, or any kind of rivulet or riverine links, you did not elaborate about that. Neither the scholars who have written about all these things have elaborated it, because I have a different idea about the riverine route in a different direction, which I will discuss later on. But I would like to listen from you on what basis you have talked about the Southeast Bengal river route, to Southeast Asia. Physical evidences are not there.
So actually, sir, onwards the post-Gupta period, we can find it out. So many ports were developed in the southeastern Bengal. Actually, if we're going to the trace of the port of the Tamralipta bandar or the port was declined onwards the 8th century. And after the 8th century, I think that through the ports of the Devaparbata in the southwestern Bengal, what that Sutkodan that mentions in the Ibn Battuta in his account. And in that way, I think that through the Bay of Bengal, the southwestern people or the monks or the traders just make contact with themselves with the people of the Southwest Asia, I think, sir. And if we're going to the different kind of epigraphical accounts, then you can find out some kind of words regarding to the noun. That noun word means the boat, okay, and that just related with that kind of maritime.
That we know. My point is that we have to identify the physical route. Why I'm telling you, we have some clue from the North Bengal link with the Southeast Asia. North Bengal link.
Now,
can you identify the North Bengal link? Because of
no, actually, I just emphasized on
the Tista River. The three sources. So there are three different sources. Three Shota.
Okay.
And this, if you see, because of the surplus economy, you have quoted about the Samatata and because the Harikala, but you also have another geographical identity of Bengal when you talk about North Bengal, and there are also epigraphical references to it, and how the present riverine system, if you see how the Padma river and the rivers what we have at Trishota, how they are connected and how eventually they are leading to Southeast Asia. So you have an opportunity to explore a physical existence of river, because why I'm telling you, when there was in the in the second urbanization, of course, we don't use that second urbanization concept nowadays, but you know pretty well after Samudragupta and Gupta hegemony over the different parts of India and political stability, and there was a surplus economy, as it has been evident, and the things were exported to various parts of the world, and that's how, because in those days the main source of transportation till the beginning of the till the beginning of the modern era, it has been the riverine
Exactly,
routes
sir.
only. It's through river only. All those, even during the British period, the Topra pillar, which was brought from in the late medieval period, how during the Tughlaq period it was brought from Ambala to Delhi on Yamuna.
Mhm.
So with
Exactly.
this has been evident from the river and routes. So river is the main source of transport in those period. So you have to explore what has been there as a tradition, and physically you will have to identify. Now, for example, the paleo channels which are there, which can be scanned through the satellite imageries, and you will definitely find a route which is connecting with river route, which is connecting with the Southeast Asia. Of course the land route is very much there with Thailand, Cambodia, and other areas. And the second question which I would like, not question as such, it is just a reference which I would like to give you, that
Okay.
if you ever visit the Bhaja Karla caves, so you will
Gotcha.
find a Buddha on a seated posture. This
Okay.
seated posture, the legs are stretching as if you are sitting on a stool or a chair, and this image is found in Thailand. So
Mm.
you can very well see the image that you have Bhaja, Karla, and other this, and both in painting and sculpture. And these things are also found in Thailand. So you next time when you see the images, there is no slides, otherwise I would have shown you. And
Okay, sir.
I'm glad that you have done a very good attempt to work on it. But whenever you work on the theoretical parts of the historians who have been now being a student of archaeology, you have to physically, materially establish thing what the historians have written in their textbooks or the
Okay, sir.
books that they have written. This is this is my humble submission to all those wonderful
Um,
scholars who are working.
my pleasure, sir.
Next,
Obviously.
next. Is there any question?
So there is a question from Dr. Ranjita Sahu. She is asking from TURZO, is there any depiction of women hunters in Bhimbetka cave paintings? Is there any
This
depiction of
is
women
for
hunters in that
this is to
Bhimbetka cave?
Dr. Mondal.
This is
Thank you,
TURZO
Dr.
Yola
Saho,
Mondal.
for the question. Okay, for Bhimbetka cave painting, so it actually stretches for a long period of time from Acheulean hunter-gatherers up to the Mesolithics and somewhat Neolithics. And Bhimbetka has a wide array of paintings. And one of the most problematic issue of Bhimbetka is that the representations of the figures has overlapped quite a few places. So even if we can see the hunters, and mostly which are in stick figures, so it is somewhat difficult to actually address is there specifically any women hunters there. But of course, yes, there are women representation that we can see in Bhimbetka. But as I have said earlier, that the images have overlapped quite a few places, and so even by putting new technologies, what we have here, somewhat might not be very much easy to see, because for example, putting this stretch in analyzing the rock cuts have been one of the easiest forms. But even these traits sometimes do not give the actual representations. Moreover, on the other hand, people in South Africa and Kenya and Tanzania, they have developed a technology, and they are using ramanoscope, which gives layer by layer depictions as well. So you can actually differentiate the figures and if it has overlapped or not. So, but that is costly, and it's and mostly this Paleolithic research and the ancient, if we're talking about prehistory on a big term, then the research has not been as developed or as widespread if we see in other countries. But we are trying our level best to identify those things. And of course, I believe that if we can develop such techniques, and if we are we continue to research on these projects, we will get these answers very soon. Thank you.
Is there any question to Dr. Mondal?
There is one last question, sir, from Sid Kumar KV. Is there a depiction of horse imageries in cave art?
Yes, there are quite a few representations of horse that we can see in Bhimbetka rock cut caves, and also importantly in a big panel we can see several representations of horses, and that actually is a part of a ritual that we can estimate about. Thank you.
And I have a question to Dr. Mondal.
Yes, sir.
With regard to the Rhino of Bhimbetka. And you have done, it's a good endeavor to explore the possibility of the migration. But you should bear in mind there are certain parameters in terms of the paleo-environmental or the environmental condition of a particular age. So you are talking about a rhino depicted in the Bhimbetka caves. And Bhimbetka, of course, Deccan College has established that it is a Paleolithic, lower Paleolithic period, but that needs to be examined, because firstly, the stone the tools which were made and the rock formation that you have there are distinctly different. So, and the rock formation that which you have is not conducive for tool making. They are very soft and fragile in nature.
Of course.
Am I right?
Yes,
so,
sir.
So they are not making tools from. So they are bringing tools from other area, and could be that a factory area where you have found chips along with from the excavation. It is reported that they have found it. So that is a question. I'm not going into the detail. They have their argument. I understand. But my point is that what is the period where you have the rhino? You don't have any fossils. You don't have any. Fossil of other animals which could be connected with the rhino. You don't have any such evidences which can establish your hypothesis that rhino was very much present in that area. Number two is the biodiversity that you need and the land forms that is required, especially the habitat for a specific animal like rhino. and double-horned rhino, as you are claiming. Double-horned rhino are a tropical animal. It is found in Africa and in Java, Sumatra, and other areas, and eastern Assam. But there you don't have double horn like that of African double horn rhinos. So while examining, while you are having this hypothesis, this is just a suggestion. I'm not a paleo environmentalist nor a paleo zoologist to establish anything.
Sir, you are not audible, I guess. I haven't heard the last part of your comment.
Evidence that you have.
Hello, sir. Hello.
So what's your say on it?
Okay. So the first things first. So the 200 rhinos were actually from the Sumatran region, and 100 rhino is actually the Indian rhinos as we know it. And there is an ecological barrier to it, and which is the Brahmaputra and the Gangetic riverways, and also on the northeast sides the rainforests. It is evident, and Manzil Hajarika, who is working on this, is working on the other thing. On the other thing, the thing is, the last thing, I'm not saying that they have these things have went into that position. We have also considered the paleo environment as well, to check this. What we are supposing, and we are stating the fact that the people who have migrated, they actually have encountered these 200 rhinos, and the cultural system that they were encountered with was imbibed to their culture, and these people have migrated to those places in Bhimbetka. And the range we are talking about is Mesolithic, and these and we have Dr. Agarkar working on this Mesolithic period, and they have C14 datings that even in Bhimbetka we have this presence of inhabitants in up to Mesolithic. And if we have to say, is that Dr. Jan Pierre Bontel, who is a rock art specialist, he has also visited these Bhimbetka caves, and we have personally consulted with him, and we have actually kept all the things on board, and we have discussed these things. And also he has also said and explained to us all these factors step by step. So but still we say ongoing project, and of course, as you have said, there are no fossils records, and it is true for human bones or any animal bones. So that's a limitation of the research. We admit that, but still, by going by this linguistic, cultural, and other possible connections that we can make so far, we can actually propose these facts, not strongly but evidentially so far. Thank you, sir.
I would rather put it the other way round. If you see, Java is a very important evidence for the Homo sapien. The Homo erectus, not Homo sapien, Homo erectus. So when you are talking about Mesolithic, it is Cro-Magnon beyond. It is a Homo sapiens.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. After minute. So the migration could be from east to west, instead of thinking, because Java people's memory, Java's people's experience can migrate to Bhimbetka. The possibilities are very much, clear, because you have a chronological evolutionary development of the tool industry and the fossil remains of Java and Sumatra area, and slowly how these people are entering into the peninsular India, and how they are again through various routes, they are going to the western part where you are. Well, not western, it's central part of
Central,
India.
yeah, mostly,
Bhopal
yes.
is very much in central part of India. And the other thing is that the researchers of Mesolithic period also suggest, especially the Patan excavation and other excavation that has been done in Gujarat area of the Mesolithic period, that there is a migration of the western people towards the east, and they go up to the Gangetic Valley, Odisha, and Bengal, and all these areas. These evidences, people have worked, many of the archaeologists have worked on the Mesolithic period. So you need to, discuss all these things before finally deciding anything on your hypothesis. This hypothesis is okay, but I strongly believe things could have been otherwise. From east to west migration could be a possibility.
Okay, yeah.
This is just my feeling. I don't
Okay, so just
have strength of
I absolutely agree with you with this Homo erectus and other peoples. But another thing is that we are actually one of the. This is a classical example that we are actually always talking about out of Africa theory, rather than there are new possibilities that we are talking nowadays is that out of Asia theory as well. And also we have there is evidences, and they have cleared from the newly developed researches that there is a possibility of excavating a Homo heidelbergensis even in our Assam regions. So as I said earlier, and sir, you have also said that there are lots of possibilities, but we are also, this is an ongoing research, and I have always said, and of course, due to Corona, there have been some issues, but we are actually working on it, and we will look forward to the new results. We have also some lab results that are coming up later in the few months. So we are looking forward to that and develop our hypothesis accordingly. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The last question of Sanjeev to Dr. Jha.
Yes, sir.
Dr.
I
Jha's
think
question is there.
Sanjeev sir is asking to Dr. Jha, sir, would you please further
Is
elaborate
it
about
there?
Makhana plant in its relation to archaeological findings? I think sir is disconnected. Vidyanath Jha sir is disconnected, seems to be.
Okay. Is he coming? You can inquire so that we can wind up.
Okay, sir. Sir, I will try to connect with him. In the meantime, sir, there is a request from Mrs. Janaf Fatima. Her presentation was scheduled in the morning,
Yes,
but
yes.
she was trying to connect from the morning onwards, and she has sent her
Okay,
presentation to.
she can have her presentation.
Thank you, sir. She just want to have a PowerPoint slide, so in 1 minute.
Okay, okay.
Yes. Sir, Vidyanath sir, sir, disconnect. Thank you, sir. Vidyanath sir has joined us again.
What was the question to me?
There was a question, sir.
What was the question to me?
From Sanjeev, sir. He is asking, would you please further elaborate about makhana plants in relation to its archaeological findings?
What? I couldn't understand. Please repeat. Please repeat.
Sanjeev,
Please repeat.
would you please further elaborate about makhana plants in relation to archaeological findings? Sanjeev sir is asking to Dr. Jha sir.
This is a big question. As of now, makhana is cultivated only in India. So far as our knowledge goes, it's there in Japan, it's there in China. Indigenous system of medicine in China has elaborate makhana as an important ingredient in the baby medicines there. But so far as our knowledge goes, the elaborate practice of cultivation and harvesting and processing, popping, etc., is not followed anywhere except India. But if evolutionary significance is there, how makhana came to India as Ural ferox, when did it come, how it came? So these are the questions. Where did it originate? Because so far as this lotus is concerned, Nelambo is concerned, it is considered of Asian origin. But so far as this Ural is concerned, nothing is clear. I had a personal interview with Professor Vishnu Mitre. He was very emphatic on the point that during past it was introduced to India through bird dispersal. So we have to, these are the curiosities. So archaeology is a very, what I say, good vishay. So unless and until excavations are done, you cannot reach any conclusion. And excavation at one place, another place, another place, another place, all these things are to be correlated. So it is very difficult to arrive at a conclusion. But the human curiosity is there, it will remain there.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. It is fine. I mean, yeah, there is a lot of studies which needs to be done. Archaeological studies needs to be done with regard to this particular plant. I mean, the two plants which you have spoken about. But in one of your references, you have told that there is a tertiary age relation to Indian plant. I mean, the makhana and kamal, especially makhana.
This was not only makhana. So that's I think this area is flood-ridden area. So fossils, even if they are there inside the earth, nobody has taken it out. It is very difficult to make any correlation as such during the past and the present. But once time is endless. Somebody will do. Somebody will find it out.
But as far as tertiary age is concerned, the human tool making, human hunter-gatherer stages of life, all these things were not there. It is only after the Pleistocene period, it is originated, and in the Pleistocene level at least, we I mean, the human population interacted with they became tool makers, and the chopping started, and then the Acheulean. But somewhere you have also spoken about it is of Acheulean origin.
Asian origin regarding Nelambo.
No. I'm talking Acheulean tool industry, or what you call Acheulean.
The study is from Israel. That is not my study. The professor, the woman professor who came from there, she has made this study. It is her paper. I have simply referred to it.
But
that
in
she
Indian
came from
context,
long distance from Israel, just to find out how it is being used today.
Yes, I understand, sir. That's why I'm telling you that tertiary reference which you have given, the tertiary age, geological period, tertiary period, has got nothing to do with human activities as such. So it is a Pleistocene period. I mean, it continued. Yes. It continued to exist, and that's how. Yes. Thank you,
it
sir.
Could
Wonderful.
Be like that.
It's a outstanding paper endeavor, sir. Thank you so much. We are all enlightened by your presentation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello.
So,
sir, this was a last question. Shall we move to the end of the session to in the concluding part?
I will have my remark, then we will conclude.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I mean, all the presentation that we have in this session, each one of them is an outstanding presentation, and SHIVANEE has drawn some new dimension into the multicultural landscape of Nālandā, and we came to know about, even though Nālandā has been seen by people across the world, but she could find out some new facts about the cultural landscape and the multi-pantheon practices, how interacted one another in the same landscape. It is quite interesting. It was quite an interesting paper, or hearty congratulations to her. And during my discussion, we have discussed many of the things. I would not like to emphasize more on that. Then thereafter, we have Mr. SUHAS and KAPUR. It was an outstanding presentation, outstanding because of his own endeavor to explore into the possibilities of Southeast Bengal or North Bengal, how they can be connected with Southeast Asia, and how the Buddhist culture, the Buddhist practices and Buddhism migrated to different parts of Southeast Asia, and how they are prevalent there, and what are the archaeological evidences that we are finding from all those areas, and how they can be correlated. And once we establish these cultural links with our neighboring countries, it not only helps us developing wonderful relation with them, political relation with them, but also economically we can revamp by having a mutual understanding of different economic issues which can be addressed in such kind of platform, where they understand that we belong to one particular culture and one particular community. It is of an Asian community or South Asian community. So in a world where we find so much of diversities and so much of issues concerning the identity of the culture, identity of the population, and here is a platform where we get an opportunity to interact with our neighbor, interact with our people in the adjoining states, and how this can build our relation with our neighboring countries. And especially the age-old relation that we have with the southeastern part of Southeast Asian, and how a greater India is seen in the Southeast Asian culture, Southeast Asian practices. So be it Angkor Wat, be it Java, be it Cambodia, uh, you will be surprised to know in the Southeast Asian country, there is a small country called Laos, and from where we got an inscription, and in that inscription it is written, it is a 5th century inscription. Uh, and in that inscription, the king of Laos, Devanika, wanted to build a new Kurukshetra. So Kurukshetra was known to the Southeast Asian so much. Mahabharata was so popular in those areas. Ramayana was so popular in these areas. Mahabharata, Ramayana are not popular because of its stories. Mahabharata and Ramayana are popular because of this value system, the values, the universal values, the values which are acceptable to the entire world. And that is why the people, when they carried this through trade and through religion, through ecclesiastical movement, how people migrate to that area and developed a culture which is, I mean, all as if you are not in a different world, as if you are in India. If you go to Java, if you go to Bali, you find that people are very much like you. They are practicing the same thing, but we are, even the contemporary world. If you go to Jakarta or Borneo or anywhere, and even irrespective of their religion, what they practice, they perform the Ramayana and Mahabharata. That is quite interesting. It is, and this is why Southeast Asia and is almost a second home for all of us. And how we can rebuild what we had in the past, and that is why Mr. Kapur is a young scholar, and many other scholars, historians like Dr. Suchandra Ghosh and Dr. Chakrabarti have done wonderful works, historical works, and those writings will infuse new vigor into the studies when SUHAS like people venture into these studies. And this is very, very important in the contemporary scenario when we talk about the fraternity, the Asian fraternity, the population of Asia. You just see that in Europe they have got European community. So we can also have a community like South Asian community. So this is why these are not merely research oriented thing. It is all value oriented things. It is all economic things. It is all our fellow understanding things, where we can show to the world we are the most peace loving people in the world, what has been preached by Lord Buddha, and how Buddhism is practiced as a healing religion. And we can tell to the people that when we are in the pandemic, how Buddha's message, how Buddha's healing can give a lot of thing to us to as a remedy to I mean, solve all these issues. So this is why these kind of platforms are uh, important, and it is quite necessary. And I'm once again grateful to the entire organizers, IQAC and Department of History, Maharaja Lakshmi Ishwar Singh Memorial College, Mithila University, Darbhanga, and the most popular archaeological and exploration and excavation department of heritage, Bihar, Patna, especially Dr. Anant Asudev ji for organizing such a national or international seminar. on the South Asian researches, and I'm truly delighted and grateful to everyone, especially the audience who have been very patiently watching all of us across the world. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful time. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. I express my deepest gratitude to you, sir, on behalf of Heritage Society and Mithila University, MLSM College, for chairing this session. I thank you so much, sir. I thanks to also to Dr. Vidyanath Jha, sir, who has joined the session. He's also the chief patron of this whole conference. Thanks to all the presenters and all the viewers. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Namaste.